Today I am going to crochet a jellyfish. This is a nice jellyfish. It's kind of squishy. It's got a little skirt. And it's got a bunch of tendrils that aren't venomous or dangerous. Unlike the first jellyfish that I made. It has a knife. But onto the non-lethal crochet jellyfish. For this project I will be using a 5mm crochet hook. I will also be using this white yarn since it was right next to me. To start, immediately tangle up your yarn and spend the next several minutes untangling it. Next, make a magic circle and work 12 double crochets into it. Realize you are crocheting and not knitting and move your yarn. Chain 2 and work 12 double crochets into the magic circle. Once you've worked 12 double crochets into the magic circle, work a slip knot into the top of the first double crochet and chain 2. The next row will be our first increase row. To do this, work a double crochet into the first double on the previous row. Then, work a front post double crochet into the same stitch we just worked our double crochet into. Repeat until the end of the row. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. For our third row, work a double crochet into the first double of the previous row. Then, work 2 front post double crochets into the front post double crochet from the previous row. This will be our increase stitch. Repeat until end of row. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. For the fourth row, work a double crochet into the first double of the previous row like before. Next, work a front post double crochet into the first of the front post increase on the previous row. Next, work in front post double crochet increase into the second front post double. Repeat until end of row. More yarn. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. For the fifth row, work a double crochet increase into the first double of the previous row. Then work in 3 front post double crochet. Repeat until the end of the row. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. Have a yummy hamburger quesadillas for lunch. Yogurt. Back to the project. For the 6th row, work a double crochet into first stitch. Then work a double crochet increase into the next stitch. And then work 3 front post double crochet. Repeat until end of the row. Realize that you've been zoning out and that you might have skipped a couple of increases. Finish the row, slip stitching into the top of the first double crochet and chaining 2 like you've been doing. For the next increase, we will be working it into the middle of the 3 double crochets. So it'll be double crochet, double crochet increase, double crochet, 3 front post double crochet, repeat until end of the row. More yarn. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. For the last increase row, work 2 double crochets in the first 2 stitches. Then work a double crochet increase into the next stitch. One double crochet. Then 3 front post double crochet. You should have 5 double crochets and 3 front post double crochets. Repeat until end of row. Slip stitch into top double and chain 2. Get really annoyed at the YouTube video you are watching while you do this. For the next 3 rows, double crochet 5 times and front post double crochet 3 times. Repeat until end of the row. change your crocheting position to something more comfortable since this step is gonna take a while. Slip stitch into top double and chain 1. Now we will be making the skirt of the jellyfish. To do this, simply work in a single crochet into every stitch for the next 5 rows. I'm adding a stitch marker so I can work in the round, because why not? Make sure to struggle with the stitch marker. It adds character. Go back to the comfortable crochet position to finish the skirt. Once you have finished 5 rows of single crochet, fasten off your yarn with either a pair of scissors or with jelly knife. Good boy. We have now made the body of the jelly. Congratulate yourself. Did I cut myself? Now we're going to start making the base of the jelly. First, struggle to make a slip knot. And then work a slip stitch in between the last row of double crochet and single crochet. From here, work a single crochet in between the 2 rows across the entire body. I use the hole from the previous stitch to help make sure I'm not missing one. When you reach the end of the row, slip stitch into the first single crochet and chain 1. So in order to get the flat base of the jellyfish, what we are going to do is a repeat of single crochet, reduce single crochet in around until we can't no more. Again, work a single crochet into the first stitch. And then a single decrease single crochet in the next 2. Repeat until there is a smallish size hole. It will get kind of difficult by the end and you'll need some good yarn tension, but it will give us a nice flat base for our jelly. When you get to a point where you feel the hole is small enough, fill your jelly with some stuffing that won't fully fit in frame. I like to fill my jellies with a good bit of stuffing so they're nice and round and squishy. Practice your bongo skill because it's never a bad time to do so. Continue with the repeat of single crochet, decrease single crochet until you close off the base and fasten off your yarn. How the hell did I do that? Spend time fixing your mistake. We now have the completed body of our jelly. To hide the tails of yarn, I just use a yarn needle and pass them through the body, trimming off the excess. Now for the final part, making the tendrils. It's also the most tedious part because you got to make a lot of the fuckers and sew them in one by one. Other than that, they're really simple. I'll fix that later. To make the tendrils, simply chain together however many chains you want. The longer the tendrils, the more chains you do. For this video I'm averaging about 34 chains per tendril, but I am making some a little longer and some a little shorter. I'm also making 20 of them, but you make however many you want. One thing to note, make sure your yarn tails on both ends are pretty long, as this will add to the cosmetics to the finished product and what we'll be using to attach our tendrils to our jelly. Once you have made enough little tendrils, we can begin the process of stitching them on. The way I do this is by using a yarn needle to pull one end of the tail through a hole until I reach the start of a chain. Then I reinsert my needle through the start of the chain and pull the yarn tail through again, making sure it's secure. Lastly, I pull the tail through the body, out the top of the jelly. I then continue stitching in the remaining tendrils in a circular fashion, although I mostly just stick them where I feel is right. Once you've finished stitching in the last tendril, clean up the top of the jelly by squishing down slightly and pulling on the yarn and trimming off the excess. Congratulations! You now have a crochet jellyfish. Jelly knife no.